Welcome to the special session of the Davos Experience in Tokyo. This is the session number 42, and my name is Yoko Ishikura. I've been hosting this series over the past 4 years, and I'm pretty sure that you have heard of artificial intelligence so many times. And I think there are very much of, there are two schools of thoughts at least. There are a group of people who see this incredible potential of the artificial intelligence. And the other group is that they are very scared of what's going to happen. And I think both sides, whenever the new technology emerges, we have both sides. But today we will have Dr. Hiroshi Yamakawa, who is the chairperson of Whole Brain Architecture Initiative. And thanks to his help, support, we are here. Because this belongs to Duango, I believe. And our architecture initiative is a part of, it's sort of a research arm of this Duango. And so we're here. And he's going to tell us what artificial general intelligence is. And I'm not quite sure what artificial general intelligence is. And he says, this is the artificial intelligence, not a tool. Like we have a lot of things like robots or artificial intelligence, who's good at driving, who's good with chess or shogi or something like that. But they are the tools. And this general thing is able to do anything because they can learn. So we'll find out what it is. And after his presentation, we'll ask you a couple of questions, and we would like to have a breakout session as to think about what kind of business applications we can think of if general artificial intelligence becomes the reality. What kind of impact would it have on the society? So these are the kinds of things that we would like to discuss. But let me start off with introducing Dr. Hiroshi Yamakawa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Kura, and thank you for inviting me to this place. And I'm chairperson of the Whole Brain Architecture Initiative. And now talk about a little about the Whole Brain Architecture and Whole Brain Architecture Initiative. And I start from the actual general intelligence. This is the agenda. And starting from the deep learning. Is anybody know the deep learning? Somebody? Oh, very good. So, deep learning is kind of the machine learning. Machine learning is the computer program that can learn some intelligence from the data. And this kind of machine learning is, idea is coming from the brain in our human brain. So, in this picture, the point is something recognizes the human face. So if machine wants to recognize the human face, they first recognize some edge or little edge, and they combine this edge. Then making some part, eye and the nose and something like that. Then they combine these things to the face. This kind of technique is realized about 3 years ago, I think 5 years ago. But this kind of technique is not developed since in this century. And this technique is applied to, as example, is applied to computer vision and split with existing technologies and achieve representation learning. Representation learning means that if of course, human can have some kind of representation in the brain, like a face and a personal computer and paper and everything. But that kind of a concept is learned from only the data. We don't programming that kind of representation by hand. So of course, so the children is developing and learn that kind of representation from experience. And that kind of representation learning is realized in this deep learning technique. And this model is related to the computer model of the brain. So I talk about the adult-like AI and childlike AI. In the 1956, at that time the computer has invented, and the name artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence kind of intelligence system that mimics the human brain, human intelligence, and after that, the AI can run the AI artificial intelligence is developed for the adult-like AI. That means we can use the we can program the artificial intelligence if we know that mechanism, and we can. But it is difficult to program the childlike AI, because if in the child they can learn some movement and recognize the word, that is very difficult to understand for us. So it is not easy to programming that kind of mechanism. But that kind of deep learning technique can realize that some childlike AI after the 2000 and 2010 and something like that period. So we can now combine the childlike AI and adult-like AI. So we can the next step is combine that kind of two parts of the artificial intelligence. And after that, we think the artificial intelligence completes the almost whole human-like artificial intelligence. So the deep learning technique is the very big impact for the artificial intelligence area, because using the scope of the task with enough data, the induction can perform a human-level intelligence with application value. That means induction is a kind of machine learning, and if we learn something from the data, we can mimic every kind of knowledge, every kind of intelligence by human. That's the meaning of this. So the next step now, this change is very big for the artificial intelligence field. So I think the next step is artificial general intelligence, because some kind of narrow type of AI. That means if as I said, if the data, if there are sufficient data, we can run many things. So like manipulation and recognizing and that kind of thing. So now the operating the intelligently within a particular domain, that some kind of tasks, they can work many kind of tasks such as computer chess, self-driving car, medical diagnosis, and but now the artificial intelligence can't learn the many kind of problems or problem solving for many domains. Of course, we know that human can learn the many kind of intelligence from the experience, but nowadays the artificial intelligence system cannot do that. So the purpose of the next step purpose is artificial general intelligence. So, for example, for what's the artificial general intelligence works? This is the example of the cleaning robot, Roomba. Roomba is in my artificial intelligence lab. This Roomba is working every night, but sometimes it's stuck to this kind of area. So, but this is not a big problem because we can move this in the morning. But if this is a household robot, maybe it is working every day and every time. So maybe that robot will stop every 2 hours. So that is not good for us. So Of course, this Roomba is produced by iRobot company, but that company cannot program for every situation. So we want to run this Roomba something around this kind of unexpected situation, for exceptional situations. So, but now today's artificial intelligence is a very narrow AI and specific to some task. They can clean the room very well, but they cannot understand this kind of risk and dangerous. So we need to make that kind of very robustness robotic. So it needs a very flexible intelligence that can autonomously escape from this situation. And as I said, I now said the ability or utility of the artificial general intelligence. I said robustness. This is the point of Roomba, and that is related to creativity. But because if Roomba should learn something from the environment, for this case, there are silver leg is very dangerous for the Roomba, so he has to understand that kind of thing. And this kind of AGI is another impact. One impact is the development costs are lower than narrow AIs. It means that artificial intelligence can learn the many kind of tasks from the data and experience. The human does not have to design that kind of intelligence. And this kind of disruptive innovation is sometimes occur. For example, we now use the smartphone, but we don't use the word processor for that specific word processor. But of course, the specific word processor machine is some kind of merit, but we don't use. It depends on because of the cost and the utilities. So sometimes AI become more general. In some cases, general intelligence is preferred than the narrow and specific AI. And another point is the generalist AI. You know that you thinking about your career. You become 30 or 30, 50 years old. You have to choose the general career or specific career. That kind of choice exists in the artificial intelligence. So the generalist AI has some part of the tasks for in the society. Basically, the management kind of task or that kind of things is very important. It should be done by the generalist AI. Now, in the world, the artificial general intelligence is developed many organizations. Our team is the Whole Brain Architecture Initiative, and another team, most famous team is Google DeepMind, and OpenAI is a non-profit organization in the United States. And famous Demis Hassabis is leader of the DeepMind, and he's aiming to the rat level AI. Rat is a kind of mouse, and this looks not so ambitious, but it is very important for the steps for the generating, making the building the artificial general intelligence. And another organization, OpenAI, is indicating four goals: measure our progress, and build a household robot, and building an agent with useful nature, natural language understanding, and solve a wide variety of games using a single agent. So now I think I talk about the whole brain architecture approach to build the artificial general intelligence. We would like to make the cognitive architecture. I skip here. So important point is the uniformity of the neocortex is based on the possibility. In our brain, there are neocortex around here, and that neocortex can do the many kind of functions bodily kinetics and verbal linguistics and interpersonal or something like that. So important point is the uniform mechanism runs the various functions. It does support the general intelligence in the brain. And this mechanism is already realized in the neocortex and it is realized by machine learning, deep learning. So now we have a chance to create a whole brain architecture. It means that to create a human-like AGI by learning from the architecture of the entire brain. Here is a kind of simple map of the brain, and here is the actual intelligence, which are corresponding to some brain organs with each other. So now we are trying to put in some machine learning modules in the right the brain, referring the brain architecture. So the reason why now the whole brain architecture is feasible is that machine learning part, deep neural network can be the neocortex model. That's a big that was a traditional big goal. And the cognitive architecture is described by the mesoscopic level of collectome. That kind of knowledge is now increasing in the neuroscientific field. So now we are making two organizations to promoting this approach. Today I explained about the whole brain architecture initiative. Whole brain architecture initiative is the vision is harmonizing AI and humanity, and human-like AIs have high versatility, viability, and easy to grasp. Then it can support human society steadily. To support research activities for realizing AI with human-like cognitive capabilities by studying the entire architecture of the brain until 2030. We have started this kind of activity since 2030, and we started first a seminar, and now this is continued. Now is 16 times of this seminar. And last year we founded Whole Brain Architecture Initiative. And sometimes we do the educational business so far, seminar and symposium and hackathon, and attending some international conference by GA and ICONIC. And we create a kind of infrastructure to promote this kind of research. One is the genetic software platform and learning environment, whole brain architecture viewer. So now we are trying to make the open cooperation to building the democratic AGI. So CWBAI is the one sub-organization in the whole brain architecture initiative and aiming 10,000 members and open AI engineer community to accelerate the whole brain architecture system development and empower the enterprise of yours means some attending engineers. Then the role of whole brain architecture initiative is prepare a co-creative development platform development to build the development environment and direction of the RFD. So co-creation of the whole brain architecture with 10,000 engineers is something like this image. Many engineers is working on the brain architecture. The merit of this approach is a complete image of the artificial general intelligence that can be agreed, and scaffold for distributed development, and scaffold of aggregation several knowledge. So then the whole brain architecture is building the platform which causes emergence of artificial general intelligence by co-creation of the engineers. Now we are And we have this activity, SIG-WBA. And future direction, not so think about, so at last, I have the conclusion. Recent breakthrough of artificial intelligence is infant-level AI realized by deep learning, which can learn representation from big data, and specific tasks that does not need high-level understanding of language become possible. Primary issue for realization human-level AI is general intelligence capable of solving flexible problem by combining highly reusable knowledge. Whole-brain architecture approach becomes feasible, approaching general intelligence by using mesoscopic connectome and cognitive architecture. And come on, do it. Thank you for hearing.
Can you just hold that slide? Because we'll open up to the floor, but I have quite a few questions. Infant level AI. So that's the AI as a tool, if I understand what it means, the first line, is that the tool like AI was made possible by deep learning from big data. Okay. And specific, so it does, but specific tests that does not need a high level understanding of language becomes possible. Okay. So that's a tool. AI as a tool.
Yeah.
That's the first point, right?
Almost very useful tool now.
Right.
So, almost covered, almost very divided.
Right. Okay. So each one is able to perform certain functions.
With the big data.
Okay. But what you are saying is that general AI is something very different.
Yes.
Is the general AI is an extension of specialized AI, or is that a totally different approach? Which? Is it a totally different approach?
Yes, almost totally different.
I see.
It means.
So even though we develop good AI for cars, good AI for shogi, good AI for chess, that doesn't cover. That's not going to lead to the general purpose AI.
Because we made some specific purpose AI for cleaning the floor and driving, but we should combine that kind of knowledge flexibly for some case.
Mm-hmm.
But so that is very important for our daily life problem solving. We cannot reach that kind of level of AI now. That's very big difference. Of course, in technically, some parts are some cross point, but almost very different. Very different. There are some different points.
Okay. So if we compare this with our career of specialist, generalist type of things, I think particularly in the Japanese companies, generalists are being developed by rotating from this job to that job. But that hurts the expertise, so to speak. And so I think we sort of take turns and we focus on specialists. But nowadays, you need to be specialists and have an expertise in certain areas, but you need to have a broader perspective. A little more than generalist type of things. So if the generalist is the jack of all trade, who can do certain things just a little bit, but not the expert in any area, you don't have that much of a value. So if the generalist AI is like a super specialist with the broad perspective.
You mean, I can tell you what.
Yeah, well, we often talk about specialist versus generalist as our career. And right now, as I understand it, we need people with the specialized knowledge, but the broader perspective, which is like a generalist. But the generalist has a connotation that you know something about, little about all the things, but not an expert in any area. So as general AI, is is it something like a generalist?
Yeah, that's right.
It is?
Yes.
So if that's the case, I don't understand why general AI has so much of a value. Because if you can do a little bit of everything, but not really specialize in any area.
Yeah, for AI, that in the future, the generalist AI is communicate specialist AI.
I see.
So they hear something from the generalist specialist AI and another specialist AI.
I see.
And the generalist AI try to combine that kind of knowledge and answer. So maybe that kind of collaboration will occur in the actual intelligence society.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Questions? Tanner?
Oh. No, I was just going to say, it's the value with the general AI is more that it can become an expert in every field because it can learn limitlessly compared to humans, we take so long to learn something, but they can become generalists with also the specialized knowledge in everything, and they can combine it all to make something even better than what any human could potentially consider.
Okay. So that's a super generalist, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. Not the shallow knowledge, but okay.
You already mentioned quite a few examples for the AI. So, for example, the Google self-driving cars. In terms for the general AI, do you have any more specific applications or models where it's used already now? And if not, what would you consider or could be one of the first things this general AI could do?
first thing?
Yeah, if there's something out already which uses or makes use of general AI, that would be nice to know. If not, what could be something which could be developed in the short or medium term, which could help us to get more a point of, because I think we're all very not experts on this topic, but to understand better what kind of actual use this has for us.
Maybe you know that some example of the application with the general AI.
Yeah.
Is true?
Yeah. Do you have some examples?
Of course.
Hard time understanding.
Of course. Now, artificial general intelligence is not realized now. So, but and our whole brain artificial initiative is now aiming to develop the artificial general intelligence like mouse or rat. Or something that kind of a small mammalian. So but now we can implement the good eye. So we start from the application using the mouse or rat with good eye. So but after that we have to think about the service or application. But now we are thinking about that. But for example, we have robotic mouse, and they can walk around many places and searching some human in the area of earthquake or something. So rescue or something like that is one application of that kind of artificial general intelligence.
Let me take another analogy. General AI, if we apply that to the area of music or sports, it's like, okay, we have a pianist, solo pianist, or solo violinist, or who is good professional cello player, or we have a professional sort of composer. But general AI, if we apply it to the music area, the musician who could do anything. Is that the general AI? Or if we use the sports analogy, we have like baseball, professional baseball player, professional fencing player, Olympic, gymnast. But the general AI is like the super athletes who can win anything, who can do everything. Is that the sort of like the image of general AI?
The kind of, yes.
Okay. So that's what it is, okay. I hope you have a little bit of that image.
Actually, building up on that, I thought the music analogy, I thought it would be the conductor who will be the artificial general intelligence, because as he said, it makes the communication between each player of the instruments.
But
So
he can play.
he can play himself as well, I guess.
But composer is like a.
Or conductor, like
Yeah, conductor, okay.
that's not the case.
Is for composer be general AI, or is that the person? Well, I want a conductor plays.
Yeah, they play, then they move up to the conductor, I guess.
General, I think there are some level in the generalist. So now we are talking about the generalist in the music area, but of course we can think skip up to the another field. So, but it depends on the level of the generalization. So. So sometimes scientists find some image from a very another image. For example, the atom and cosmos. So that kind of transfer is of knowledge. It's a very key idea of the generalist. Now, that point is very known as a name transfer learning. Transfer learning is now the very big area of the machine learning and very hot area, because general intelligence is the core of the core idea of general intelligence is very deep relation of the transfer. So if the composer has some essence about the music, so that kind essence will be maybe transferred to the playing some instruments. So that kind of transfer is very important for this general
And you
intelligence.
can even go to the other areas.
So
It doesn't have to be.
sometimes some kind of rhythm is transfer the music to sports.
Yeah.
That kind of thing sometimes occurs.
Okay. Yeah, because we often talk about the transferability of skills. You know, we often talk about, because of the technological advancement, new jobs will appear, and new skills are going to be needed. And the stability of skills, which is important today, just 1/3 of it will stay, and even to the period of 2020, which is like 4 years ago, 4 years away. So, but if we can figure out some skills which can be transferable to other industry or other jobs, that skills will have a much longer life. But there are lots and lots of skills which just are limited in one area, and you can't really transfer that. So I think that's the same idea, it seems like. Okay, other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Yamakawa. I'm interested how AGI change our lives by 2030, because it seems that 2030 is kind of important year to be achieved. So I want more specific example to our daily life. So how does AGI change our life, and what will be like? To my job, to my experience.
There are many points to many kind of impact for our lives. Not only the artificial general intelligence, also traditional AI also have a big impact for our lives. Always said the one point is the job. our job is sometimes replaced by the artificial intelligence.
So we will need a housewife by 2030, for example.
Yeah, it's sometimes said, but that is, I think it's almost occur that kind of replacing that kind of skill. So there are, I think, three types of the jobs for that kind of view. One is some job is not vanish so soon because now today's AI needs a big data. So if there are some small data, for example, the new business, new venture business, or something like that, there's no big data. So human have a chance to use that your intelligence. But the second point is how to use the actual intelligence is a very important skill next 5 or 10 years. So combining the artificial intelligence for some job or tasks, and at last, after that, almost all skill is go up to our level. But we have we have to have some. We need to say something preference for something or a responsibility for decision, and that kind of thing must be taken by the human. So there are three types of labor.
If I'm understanding it right, so the big difference between narrow AI and AGI is AGI has its own learning system, so it can learn stuff when necessary. And also, I think you mentioned something like kind of build this system from the architecture of the entire brain, like a human brain. However, I wonder, because even nowadays we still have very limited knowledge about human brain. So how can you say it's like very similar to human level? Like, this is my first question. And my second question is, you mentioned something about having self-control of the machine. So I wonder, are they kind of independent from human will? So if we have a different decision from them, will they follow us as a dominant control, or they just do whatever they kind of decide to do?
And first question is
First question is that we know something
Limited,
about the brain.
limited about
Yeah,
the brain.
but we don't have our knowledge of the brain is rather limited. So how can you say that the
so of course we don't know all about the brain. So, but our approach, whole brain artificial approach, is a combination of the machine learning. So the machine learning means detailed level structure is learned from the data. So we don't have to design very detailed. So we only have to know the rough structure of the brain. But now we can almost know about the rough structure of the brain. So we can use that kind of knowledge from the neuroscience and combine the machine learning. That's it, our strategy.
So about self-control, my second question.
what
Would have the control. I think
Control?
we'll discuss that in the breakout session. Once the general artificial intelligence becomes so advanced, who is going to control? Is it going to be
that's very important question.
I think we'll discuss that in the breakout sessions because that's not easily understood, answerable. Questions? Go ahead.
Since the AGI modules are developed based on the neuroscience, so is that possible to make them embedded back to our brains to expand the human intelligence?
Expand? Amplify it. You mean back to our brains.
To embed back to our brains, this kind of AGI modules.
So is it going to be if we
Put it back to our brains.
Put in?
Yeah, put in.
Some researchers try to do that kind of. So some researchers put the artificial brain in the not of course human for the mouse. But that's kind of challenging to do that. But maybe someday somebody wants to do that. But not justly.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, it's too fast for me.
Let's go to.
Need more research.
Got a question. So this general AI basically is one and for all, right? Like it will learn whichever and can cover all functions in a sense. So with that idea, if this thing actually becomes a high-level achievement, all the other aspects of AIs are kind of integrated into one system, in this system. So in that sense, this AI, because it's a single entity in a sense and has already learned different ways of doing it, but it will find a most efficient quote-unquote way of doing things. And do you think that might cause a different kind of setbacks for society? Because there might be a value in doing things in multiple different ways, but with this single system, we have only one way of doing it, at least by this single AGI. What do you think?
You mean some specific system is better for the some specific task? You mean?
No, I mean, I'm just wondering, so if this one system takes over, there is one system for solving the problems, right? One question, one solution, because this solution is the most efficient one. But do you think this definition of most efficient, defined by this AI, with single solution, is valuable or a setback for the society?
I think that's a very interesting question because we tend to avoid there is one right answer to the question. But if this is developed fully, your question is that we are going against that thinking because we want different types of solutions rather than one single one. But if there's one system which integrates everything, it seems like we have one right answer, which I think we are trying to avoid in the era of diversity.
Yeah, you mean?
Not about the diversity, but like just by definition of efficiency, right? Like AI will define efficiency as one thing, but we all agree on the definition of efficiency. It can be a different question. So I don't know.
You mean multiple answer for one question?
Or multiple ways of doing it by different definition of efficiency.
The definition of efficiency. Efficiency means some kind of what's the variable for that this system? You mean?
I think go ahead. I think what.
Yeah, I just need some more clarification on the definition of AGI. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the Chinese room experiment, but basically the idea behind the experiment is that there are two hypotheses regarding AIs. One is that we want to create an AI that can actually think and has a mind. The second one is that we want to create an AI that can pretend it can think and has a mind. I'm wondering, like, which one is the AGI trying to achieve here?
I can't.
So you're saying that there is two schools of thought. One is that
that the AI can think and have a mind, and the other one is that the AI can just pretend and act like it has a mind, but actually it doesn't. It's all programmed.
You mean mind? AI has my
A
something.
mind can learn, like it's the same.
That's very philosophical question. So, one point is why we say AGI. Because there are many discussions in the artificial intelligence field, but for the researcher, it is hard to define mind and researching mind. So the actual general intelligence focus the generality. So that don't think about the mind. So just because if generality, that kind of things is learning many kinds of things is very estimatable as by technology. So that kind of to avoid that kind of confusing, the artificial intelligence researcher set the target as artificial intelligence. So that kind of discussion is very important, like artificial intelligence, like a human. But it's a different kind of discussion, but sometimes it is very related.
I see. So, in other words, you don't take either one of the view. I think that's what he's saying. As a researcher, they don't really take any one view. Seems like.
Thank you.
Any questions? Go ahead. We'll make this the last question before the breakout session, and then we'll have a breakout session.
So my question goes back a little bit to what they talk over here, how to make a decision. So the generalist and artificial intelligence would be dealing with complex problems. The more complex the problem becomes, the more impossible it becomes to actually have one perfect solution. So you would have to always evaluate different solutions against each other. So my question is, how do you teach an artificial intelligence to be able to evaluate? Because evaluations are not always rational. There's always an irrational ethical standpoint that comes in with more complex problems. So how do you teach ethics to a computer?
Do you teach ethics to computer? I think that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Can you teach ethics?
That's good for discussion.
Okay.
Now, it's that kind of thing is just starting the discussion in the artificial intelligence area, and that kind of discussion is sometimes done in the artificial intelligence conference every year. So, today I don't say the main thing, but in this last year and 2 years before, many organizations had started to discuss that kind of things. Not only United States and Iran and in Japan too.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. This is like a science fiction question. If the world where general AI, as he explained, is possible today, and you can get there if you want to, how many of you would like to go to that world? Okay, how many of you do not want to go to that world? You have to choose either one. Okay, I'll ask again. Okay. Suppose there is the world where general AI, as he explained, is possible today. And you have a choice of going into that world. How many of you would like to go there? How many of you do not want to go there? Okay. This is a very interesting. Those who said you would go there, if you cannot come back to the real world as we know, how many of you would still go there? Okay, you have a lot of guts. But that's very good. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is that we're going to break out into these sessions. And we have several topics. And one is we want to take how do we control AGI so that it doesn't go crazy? I mean, I think you talked about, what's going to happen if AGI can do whatever they want to. What can we do to avoid that? That's one question. The second question is, what kind of business applications can you think of if AGI, as he explained, is made possible? Business application. The third question is that if AGI can create the artistic, sort of creation, music, drawings, or anything, how do you value that? We have like auction, but if AI is the one who created it, not human, who would get the money, in other words? Who would get the value? So those are the three questions. We have 9 groups? 10 or 9? Do we have 9? Oh, 11, okay. Okay, so we'll take volunteers. Who wants to take the first one? How do we avoid the general AI to go crazy? Anybody wants to take that? Nobody wants to take that one. That's the most scary one. Okay. What about the business applications? Okay, this group, that group, and that group. And first one, okay, control AI, this group, and the last one, the third one was that how do we create the market to value the creation made by AGI? Okay, that group, and this group. Okay. Those who didn't raise your hands, which one would you like to take? One? Okay, control. One? Okay. You want 2? Business application? I think that's it, right? So you have about 40 minutes or so to discuss. What I suggest is that quickly introduce yourself to the other members of the team and then brainstorm.